Hello, beautiful beings. Guess what we're talking about today? We're talking about taking our power back. And I have a question for you that might ruffle your feathers, but if you're willing to stick with me here, I think you're going to find by the end of the video, you are going to feel so much more power in everything you've lived and everything you've chosen, even the really, really hard stuff, even the stuff that didn't seem like you wanted to experience in your life. So let's dive in. My name is Rebecca Abraxas. I'm an alignment coach and I do light language activation. And I'm so glad you're here on this channel. We are doing everything to remember our greatness and our power on our awakening journey. So we go live as a tribe every Friday. Be sure to join us. Click the bell so you get those notifications in your email. All right, beautiful being. How are we going to take back our power in this crazy time, right, of the Great Awakening? There's things shifting. There's stories abound. How many stories out there are how like the earth is just going to hell in a handbasket, right? But what I'm here to say is that we have more power than that. And what I'm here to say is there is so much more beauty and wellness than anyone is letting on. And any story that you're hearing is a story, and it's not in sovereignty. So what I want to say about that first is, I'm going to get to sovereignty a little later, but the first thing I want to talk about is reeling your power back. And how we're going to do that is by letting everything be your fault. Letting everything be my fault. So let everything in your life be your fault. Because from there, guess what? You have all the power. You've got the power if it's your fault. If it's everyone else's fault, we can't really touch that, right? How many times have we said, yeah, I had a really bad childhood. Yeah, I had some really bad teachers. Yeah, like I got just fired. Yeah, like my kids are super tough to parent. It's all on them. They've got the power when we say it that way. So what I want you to do is reel back the power and say, it's my fault. All of this is my fault. And what I mean by fault is consciously, yeah, perhaps it's someone else's fault. But subconsciously, if we can expand our paradigm of where we're living and our perspective, we can say, yeah, like attracts like. Yeah, I'm an infinite being. Yeah, I came here and chose contrast so that I could really bust through consciousness for me as a soul, as a spirit, and for this planet. So thank you. Thank you for being that powerful as an infinite being to say, I am jumping down here, living, creating contrast to boom through that. You have that power. And that's what you chose. That's what you chose. So it's your fault. All of it's your fault. It's my fault. My kids are really tough to parent. It's my fault. I've lived some pretty tough things with an alcoholic father and mental health issues in my family, one person after the other. It's tough. It's my fault. Guess what? I am going to let everything be my fault now because it's the inside that creates the outside. Let me know in the comments if this is kind of just what you needed to hear right now. Let me know in the comments. Guys, the thing is when we let it be our fault, we get to clear that up. So let me tell you a story about something that happened last night. I'm always trying to up my awareness about things and it's my fault. So like, how do I clean it up? How do I clean it up? So I'm talking to my sister right before bed, and I'm telling her the story about my teen, something that happened. And with my older son, and here we go. It was like the same old story. And I started to hear myself talk the story again, give energy to it, give energy to a lower vibrational story. And I was like, you know what? I call my sister Sissy. Sissy, I have to go. I got to stop telling this story. So we said goodbye, and I got on my journal and I started re-scripting the story. I started re-scripting because I knew after 18 years, you get it when you get it, that I was like, no, no, no. This is my fault and I am changing it. And it made me very aware of all the stories that I focused on how hard it was to raise my boys and how willful and how tough they were to parent. And like, I remember just living in those stories for so long. And I also remember before having kids that when I was on my yoga mat, I got this download, like, go have kids, go have a husband. That's where you're going to grow the most. So I had this whole thing that I was jumping into family life to awaken even more. And I did. But it was with a lot of contrast, and I created that. And so now I'm changing up the story, and I'm writing before bed of a more easeful story, of more fun in our lives as a family, and just different things that I really want to be focused on more than the hardship story. So I caught myself. I stopped myself in my tracks. I hung up the phone, re-scripted, and then let out a note, a frequency in my voice to match the frequency that I just created. This beautiful reality that I want to be living, that I just created here on my journal. And I let out a note to really solidify it. And then I went to bed. And do you know what? I had like one of the best night's sleep I've had all week. And it would have been different if I kept talking to my sister about the old story about how hard it is to parent these kids, and then, clicked the phone down, clicked the phone, I'm really dating myself, right? Clicked the iPhone off and went to bed with that frequency. So where are we going? Where are we living our set point frequency at? And so I caught it. I'm in charge of my frequency. I'm in charge. It's my fault. In a good way, right? So guys, where do you want to take back your power? By all means, childhood trauma is real. It's been handed down to us. But if we keep doing this, we have less power about it. So take the power back. Yeah. Yes, I'm an infinite being. I stepped into that childhood mess. Yep, I did. Chose it. Created it. Just so that I could hold it and I could expand from it. So I know that's kind of like a broader perspective, and sometimes that's hard to hear. Let me know if I ruffled your feathers a little bit. Is that hard to hear? But I want you to know that on the conscious level, yeah, it's not your fault for the abuse you've been into. But on the deeper subconscious, broader perspective level, yeah, you came to experience it, to expand your consciousness, to awaken even further on this journey, and to help awaken the planet. So thank you. Thank you. So when we get sovereign, I'm going to talk about sovereignty. When we get sovereign, like everything we're experiencing and every energy is our sovereign self. So let's integrate all those parts and let's tune into the sovereignty of our highest self, okay? So all this are the playing pieces. Think of life as just a chessboard. You got all those pieces, right? And they're all aspects of you. Every relationship is an aspect of you. But you at what frequency? So I want to invite you to take back your power and imagine taking all those chess pieces and putting them back in the velvet bag, and the bag itself is you. All those frequencies are back into you. And then you align that frequency with your sovereign self, your highest sovereign self. This is a practice I do every day, a lot of times a day, is I tune into my sovereign self. I integrate everything to my sovereign self, and I ask to function from my highest self, okay? Because how many times have you been confused by the download or the input or the the input you got after meditation? Like, how many times has it contradicted itself from one day to the next or one moment to the next? And you're like, who is talking to me? Who is this download? Maybe it's all aspects of yourself. Maybe it's frequencies of a denser reality of yourself, of another dimensional reality of yourself. It's really hard to know who the hell is speaking if you are not demanding your sovereignty from your highest self. So whether you're channeling or downloading or anything like that, like, where do you want to be living? Do you want to be living above the story Do you want to be living in your highest frequency with you and really create a set point vibration that's super high and awakened and live the ascension energy in this body? Or do you want to be pulled all over the universe from all these different frequencies that are aspects of you? I mean, it's your choice. You are that powerful to have that choice. And I made this powerful decision 2 years ago after seeking everything out here. Everything was more powerful than me. I wanted this person to tell me this, and this person to channel this, and this person to... And I finally realized. And it took a really, really uncomfortable situation to realize this. One of my spiritual teachers, I would say, she's turning into a good friend. She was a practitioner that I did work with, that she did work with me. And I remember trusting her. And I trusted her with my awareness one day. And when I trusted her, I spoke freely of what I was noticing and aware of. And she got scared. And she said she had to go. And she never talked to me again. And fear is not an ascension energy. So I bless her on her way. It was very hurtful to me. And I did a lot of inner work from that experience. And I trusted someone with something that was so vulnerable to me, to trust my awareness that was coming to me. And I trusted her, and I told her about it. And she rejected me. And she never talked to me again. And I had to really muster up the courage to find a different way that wasn't always seeking out here. So what I did was got very clear that I'm integrating my frequencies, and my sovereignty is to my highest self, no longer to a teacher or a visionary or a channel. I am my sovereignty. I have clear communication. I have the power. I do. Because there's a spark of source light beyond any creation force in me. I am the strongest creation force. And so are you, if you're willing to choose that. So 2 years ago, I stopped going out here, and I stopped paying attention to every story on the spiritual, energetic story on the internet, and I just aligned with my sovereign self. I am so grateful that my friend stopped talking to me, that I created, that it was my fault. It was my fault that I said something that she probably couldn't hear, that I wasn't aware of, or that I really needed that pushback from her. I'm so grateful to go through that uncomfortable experience and that vulnerability, because that helped me see my power. So yes, that was my fault, and I will take credit, and I took the power, and I aligned with sovereignty and have been so much more happier in my life, and felt so much more power and personal control in my life from my own sovereignty. So I'm super happy that I had to live that really uncomfortable thing. So let me know in the comments, where in your life are you willing to take the credit for a really uncomfortable situation, a contrasting moment, a trauma that you had to deal with that seems like it was someone else's fault? Are you willing to take back the reins to that and see that as an aspect of yourself, that everyone in your life is an aspect of yourself, and you are acting this out, and you're creating this contrast and drama so that you can awaken? That's powerful. That's a powerful perspective. You've got the power. It's your fault. You want to choose it? There's a lot of joy there. There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of healing there. So, beautiful being, let me know how this landed with you. And if you would like some mentoring on trying to align with this perspective and letting go of some of the balls and chains in your life. I do mentoring, alignment mentoring, and I'm so happy to work with you. I do 30-minute free discovery calls, and then we can get into a regimen of consistent mentoring. So let me know if that's interesting to you. And by all means, go over to RebeccaAbraxas.com. There's a free gift for you. And it's all about how to use what your own voice is telling you. It's just a little program that a little quiz that you take to see where you need to be highlighting some of your personal growth. So go get that free gift at RebeccaAbraxas.com. I'd love to work with you in a deeper way. So namaste.